So, hey guys, what's up? It's Frank Ramirez. Hopefully, you guys are having a great day. Hope you guys had a great weekend. We had a 3-day weekend here in the US. It was really nice. Got to spend time with the family, all that good stuff. Today, we're going to be talking about export settings and specifically the ones I use to get the clear videos that I do for YouTube. And just really quick reminder, guys, that YouTube does compress your videos quite a bit. So, it's a good idea to start with the best quality that you possibly can. And for me, I like to shoot with really nice cameras and I like to export in really high settings just to make sure that I get the same quality that I can. But you could adapt this to fit to whatever you're shooting with, whether you're shooting on an iPhone, DSLR, all that good stuff. You don't want to do disservice to your videos and use the defaults that they give you in any of the software that you use, whether it's iMovie, Final Cut Pro, any of that good stuff. You always have to kind of dial it into what suits you best. So hopefully this kind of helps you find what works for you guys. So let's get started on export settings. So here we are. This is Adobe Media Encoder, and this is the first stop that any of my footage makes before it even gets to the editing floor, before I trim it up, edit it, do whatever I want with it. So I like to start off here in Media Encoder, and what this is going to do for me is take my files and upgrade them. They're going to turn into higher quality files for me to edit with, because if I just edited the files that were coming straight off of my camera and I was trying to do stuff like color correct them, it'd degrade really fast. There would be a lot more kind of grain, more color mixing. It wouldn't look very nice in general. So I was trying to bring it here so that I can upgrade it, make those files a little bit easier to work with, especially because I'm on Mac, and QuickTime and ProRes are the easiest files for me to work with here. So here we go. So if I click on one of these ProRes things, it's going to open up your whole setting menu. And you can see the format here is QuickTime preset that I made for this just to make it easier for myself is ProRes. And if I go down here to the video tab and I see the video codec, it goes video codec, Apple ProRes 422. There are a bunch of different kinds of profiles. This is just the one that I think works the best. It's more of a standard in the industry for editing, so this is what I use. So if you click on this, you can see there's a bunch of different codecs, like I said, but they're very, very complicated, and I don't want to get into it, mostly because we don't need to get into it. They're just things that are here. We don't really need them. If it works for you, it works for you, but Apple ProRes, I promise, will work a lot better. Here we go. We go basic video settings. This, I just hit match source, and it'll lock on to the quality of my clips. Right here, you can see they're full HD, 1920 by 1080. Click that. That's perfectly fine. Frame rate, you can see my frame rate, 23.976, and this is kind of important that I use and click this render at maximum depth because I wanted to like really go hardcore on this and make sure that this thing is looking really nice and crisp. If I go down anymore, nothing is really kind of clicked here. That's pretty much the main things that I use. Just this Apple ProRes is the most important thing in this whole part. And again, if you go a little bit to the bottom here, I use maximum render quality just to make sure that I'm really hitting it, making sure it's doubling back and getting all that information down the way that I want it to. So that's pretty much it. So I click OK. Ooh, this little thing popped up. Don't need that. After that's done, we come up and hit the little start queue return, and bam, it's encoding. And once this is done, we're going to move over to Adobe Premiere for the final edit. So guys, this is the final step. This is after you've edited everything, you've color corrected and color graded the way you wanted to, and you're ready to export your video for YouTube. These are the settings to do it. This is for my HD footage. I do have one for my 4K footage that I can show later on, but this is just HD. And I use HD mainly because no one really has 4K monitors. 4K takes a lot longer to load and export and work with, and it's just very time consuming. So I only use it when I really, really need to, or I just want to have some fun with it. But for most of my stuff, it's just completely HD. And really, you can't tell the difference unless you're on a 4K monitor or have the eye for it. So 4K is not really necessary, but it's nice to have. I'm going to start off in the right top hand corner and start with my export settings. And here I have my format, and H.264 is a pretty universal format for anything that goes on the web. And that is because it's a smaller format most of the times, and you can pretty much save it, have a smaller file that still looks pretty good, and put it wherever you want to. And if you go underneath that, you see my preset is HD YouTube. That's just, again, my preset that I made so that I can kind of put it in. I don't have to worry about about it, it'll automatically come up whenever I'm going to export something. And if you go output name, you can change your output name to whatever you want. I don't really need to right now. That's just for demonstration purposes after all. So you see all this output information, and it's very extensive, very kind of dry, so I'm not going to get into that. But we're going to go down here to the basic video settings and just make sure that this is all lined up correctly. We have the right width, 1920 by 1080. That's what we want. We have the same frame rate, progressive, all that kind of stuff. It's usually kind of automatic for you. And again, if you see, I have render at maximum depth just to make sure that I'm hitting all that kind of stuff. So this is kind of the important part for me, is the bitrate settings. And this is what's going to help your video have and maintain that same kind of quality that you want it to, whatever you're going to put it on. So here you have a couple different settings. We have CBR, VBR 1 pass, VBR 2 pass. The VBR 2 pass is the one that I use because it tends to be a lot sharper than all the other ones. So VBR 1 pass is just a preparation for the 2 pass, in that it just goes back into your video and kind of figures out what parts of your video need more kind of definition. VBR2 pass is when it goes back a second time and makes sure that it's actually getting and working correctly. And I'm not too much of an editor myself, but from what I understand, VBR2 pass is the way to go for most things, although it takes a lot more time. So if you're in a hurry, CBR is going to work fine for you, but if you have that extra time, or if you want to have that extra crisp in your videos, I always recommend using VBR 2 pass. Again, this is just what I use for me, and it works. And for target bitrate, this is again what's going to help you maintain the quality in the video. Is I have it at the minimum at 13.78. You can go down a little bit if you want to, and the maximum bitrate at 1882. These aren't exact numbers. These are kind of ones that I've just worked out to keeping them there, and I haven't really messed with them since, and they work pretty good. And for the last step, I use this little arrow to make sure that maximum render quality is checked. Everything's ready to go. After you've done all this kind of stuff, you're ready to export and upload to YouTube. So I hope this video helped out a little bit, trying to find the right settings to export your videos at to get the quality that you want on YouTube, to make sure that you're maintaining the quality of your camera, the lens that you use, and all that good stuff, all the way from shooting to post-production. So thank you guys for joining me on this little adventure of ours, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.